Eventually, we left the bar. As we did, Emily was outside, standing beside my motorcycle, throwing small pebbles at some junkie who is on the ground beside the motorcycle, out cold. Judging by the burn marks on him, I'd say that he was stupid enough to think that he could hotwire my bike, take off with it, and ran afoul of my security system. Basically, I rigged the motorcycle. If anybody but me gets on it, without my key or access information, the bike sends an overcharge into the frame. Basically a surge of power that'll, well, cook you like an egg. And this guy seems to have gotten a nice taste of it. Emily was simply leaning against the motorcycle, throwing pebbles at him, still with a general look of displeasure on her face. As Danny exited the bar, she threw daggers at him. Just that look that says, "I hate you." And every time Danny looked at her, he felt a mixture of different things that I could see on his face. Both seemingly happy to see her, as well as ashamed of something. He definitely fucked up. I don't know how, but he did. And he definitely felt bad about it. But he took off the other direction, hopping in a Jeep that had been decked out with basically weapons everywhere. His goons joining him, taking the seats, which had all basically been affixed in different directions, set up as gunner seats with the weapon attachments. And they rolled off, assumingly to go get the equipment that they needed and start transporting it to my place. Meanwhile, I made my way over to Emily. "So, are you about ready to go?" "Yeah, I am so ready to get out of this dump." "Well, I think we might have to at least spend the night here. I'm a little wiped out from the drive, and I don't want to risk crashing from falling asleep behind the wheel. So we might as well get a hotel for the night. Separate rooms, of course, and we'll leave out in the morning." "I'm fine, it doesn't matter, as long as I don't have to see his stupid face anymore." "Emily," I said, giving her a stern look. "Like, I know you haven't talked about it, and that's probably because you damn don't want to. I know it's probably a very sensitive subject with the amount of silence you've put on it, but whatever it is, you do know that you can talk to me about it, right? No judgments here. You're my friend. Whatever your brother did to piss you off, it might feel good to actually tell someone about it." "Shut up, Jax," Emily replied, barely even looking at me as she did, picking up her helmet and getting ready to hop on. "I don't need to tell you or anyone else about it. I've only ever told one person about it, and that one person ended up dead. If anything, the knowledge is just more of a curse. I want you dying on me like Steve." "Really, Emily? Steve, his death didn't have anything to do with you or your brother. Are you seriously connecting the two? I mean, it's been over a decade, Emily. You can't possibly blame yourself. Or having told him what happened between you and your brother on him dying? The two just aren't connected. It's just not healthy to keep all that stuff inside. Bottled up emotions and secrets tend to end up badly for the people bottling them. But I'm not applying any pressure. If you want to tell me, you can. And I think it'd be better if you did. But I'm not going to force you on it. If you do tell me, you'll do it in your own time. Just know I'm here for you, okay? That's all." "Ugh," Emily sighed. "Would you just shut up and get on the bike?" she said, taking her seat. "I just want today to be over." So, without much more talk, I got on the motorcycle. Me and Emily found a fairly average-looking hotel where it didn't look like we'd be robbed in our sleep. and got a couple of rooms for the night. The prices were fairly expensive. I mean, I wasn't used to having to get rooms or pay for drinks. But everything in this damn city seems so pricey. I suppose that's why so many people end up in the gutter. Things here just cost way too damn much for anyone to have any sort of life. Just trying to pay for room and board strips everything. But we eventually found our way to sleep. At least I did. I don't know about Emily, as of course she had her own separate room, but hopefully she was getting some shut-eye. And the next day, we got up early, and without any notice, took off, heading for the north side of the Yellow District, the location of our programmer. And we could only really hope that things would work out in our favor. As we traveled the very long road to the north side of the Yellow District, still that picturesque desert environment sweeping over everything with the sun in the background still held its beauty. But one could always notice that shimmering black monument in the distance. Newgate City, the core. You could see it from anywhere around. No matter what part of Newgate you were in, what district, what area, that massive walled city was always visible. Black iron walls stretching up, solid iron walls the size of a skyscraper, forming a gigantic barrier, locking everyone in and everyone else out. A place where the most elite of society live, throwing their worst out to live in the gutter. To be honest, I often wondered what it was like in other parts of the world, but as there wasn't very much communication between different countries, it was really anyone's guess. Was everyone else doing as poorly as we were? Being lorded over by assholes living in the elite comfort and safety of an impenetrable barrier? Who's to say? After the Great War, talking wasn't exactly something the people of the world were up to. Regardless, I still had a journey ahead of me, and a long one at that. It was hot as hell on these endless barren roads, and even the wind was as dry as anything you could ever think of. Felt like it sucked the moisture right out of you. Thankfully, we always carried water and supplies with us, and the cooling elements inside of our helmets kept us from getting too overheated. It had become commonplace to include cooling elements in just about everything, clothing, helmets, to keep people from, well, cooking like an egg in this desert heat. To be honest, it always just made me think even more about the inside of those walls. I mean, those things weren't just for decoration. They were packed with tech. Supposedly, even though the top didn't seem to be covered, the walls themselves projected an energy barrier, a force field over the entire city. So there was no just flying over it. Many people have tried that tactic before, and it doesn't work. If you don't get shot down, you just end up crashing into the barrier. No one really knows for sure, but there's stories saying that the barrier actually blocks out a lot of the sunlight, that they can weigh and measure how much gets through, so that the only sunlight that breaks through it makes the interior of those walls constantly the perfect temperature. Never too hot, never too cold. Perfect sunny days all year round. An oxygenation system that purifies the air, cools it, and pumps it throughout the city. So there's always a nice cool breeze for everyone living inside, while the rest of us are in a giant oven. It was the same for basically anyone who lived outside the walls. The only thing anyone dreams about is living inside them.